comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
Hello, Fortitude audience. Thank you so much for joining us again today. My name is Heather Kittelson, and I am here with my husband, Amos.
Hi.
And today in our studio, we have Shelly and Ladell Kellenberger. Hello, and thank you for being here today.
Hello. Good morning.
We have had the opportunity to get to know each other, Shelly, through Rosie's Boutique in Rock Rapids, Iowa. And I've always loved you a lot. You are full of joy and full of the Holy Spirit. And coming in to grab coffee with my girls at the boutique, it's just been, and when I was doing the woodworking and dropping off boxes and boxes of woodworking. Woodwork. I loved doing that. It was a fun season. So we have recently, or I should say you guys recently, about 3 years ago, went through a very unique situation. I think you guys call it, it's an accident. But it has changed your life in such a beautiful way and cherishing life. But I want to start with who you are today. So if you could just share with our audience, either one of you guys can just look at each other and give each other just like you go ahead. Like, who are you? And you have kids and grandkids and all the good stuff. So just share with the audience who you are.
Well, I think we're a typical Northwest Iowa family. I think we're pretty boring once in a while. We're not that couple that goes out and does a whole lot of stuff that gets crazy. But
boring in this case is not a derogatory term, right?
No, simply beautiful.
Can be just fun.
Yes.
Just fun.
But like I said, we have five beautiful children. I guess we can say that we have two families in a way because we have three biological, but we did adopt two beautiful girls from China. So, and we are going to be empty nesters after this year a little bit because our last one's a senior.
Yes, Shelly, you are no longer going to be a boring couple. You will be partying. I can see it.
In a way, because of my age, mostly because I'm 7 years older.
Ready?
So I am almost that retirement, or can be retirement age. But I think my work ethic is going to be tough to retire sooner than later. But I hope to stay busy if I do stop totally. But
that's what I love about the Northwest, just this whole Midwest area. I don't know that retiring is a thing. Everyone stays active and hard work. There's hard work that happens all the way until God takes you home. So what I feel like.
Exactly.
Shelly, I mentioned Rosie's Boutique. How long have you been there? Okay. So you are maybe taking a sabbat or you're doing something different. Sorry. That was something.
No, that's fine. I was at Rosie's for 9 years.
Yeah.
I was done last November.
Okay.
Anyways, so now I'm at home taking care of my grandson 3 days a week.
Okay.
And I'm helping a little bit with Game Plan for Hope.
Okay.
So that's kind of what
that's
I'm
great.
doing.
So for those who are listening, she was being polite and saying, I'm no longer there.
She caught me off guard a little bit.
So Bubba, we're getting caught up here.
A little more research.
From Rosie's past tense.
Yes.
But that was a long time. That was a long time to be there. But now you get to be grandma.
Yes, now I get to be grandma.
And Game Plan for Hope, we have talked about quite a bit on our podcast because it's an incredible nonprofit that is near and dear to our heart. So,
and us too, because we'll get through the story, but they did a lot for us when Ladell had his accident. So
that's nice. And I noticed your reaction when you said empty nesters, to me, which was very positive. Because you hear a lot of people go, oh, yeah, we're going to miss the kids. And, there's kind of like a sorrowful moment. But you were very joyful, which is a testimony to your guys' relationship because you're really looking forward to what's next.
To come,
I think once you raise your kids and hopefully they they fly after they leave the nest.
Exactly.
You did your job.
We
Joy
did our
in
job.
leaving the nest. Like that can give
Probably
you pride.
didn't do it very well, but I guess we tried, and through God's divine intervention, we made it. I guess.
made it.
Or almost made it. So we're not there yet.
Whose idea was it to adopt? I mean, I'm sure God put the plug in the heart. Oh, Shelly's getting pointed at. Okay, so two from China.
Yeah.
How was that process?
It was long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I shouldn't say it was really long. It's from start to finish. It was 13 months.
Okay.
But it was a long time trying to get him on board.
How old were they when they were born?
Mia was 22 months.
How old were they when they were born?
I mean,
when we adopted.
Yes.
She was 22 months and Zoe was 3.5.
Okay. Man.
Yeah.
3.5 years.
And siblings or
No.
Okay.
2 different parts of China.
So she not only convinced you once, but she convinced you twice.
Right.
They always told us when you went
when we
that you'll be back again.
We were in the group of the agency. There was at least 15, maybe, other couples at the same time trying, to get them out of China. Yeah. You have to do all them hoops of paperwork and getting here and here. And so you got to be with a lot of them. And every one of them, a few of them were second timers and stuff. So they pretty much said, "You'll be back.
You'll be back." It's like if you've done it once, we can do it again.
Yeah.
We can't do all that work just one time.
So,
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yes,
on
it
adoption.
is. Because I don't think we've really covered it yet, adoption. So we have a few coming up that I'm really excited about because that's a beautiful process. Ladell, you are the youngest of 12. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. I am the youngest of 12.
That is also the beauty of Midwest. These big families that come from. Did you grow up on a farm?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I've been close to my small town for my whole life. I moved within a 5-mile radius from farm to acreage to farm.
Wow.
And then finally we are in our little town now.
And Ladell, when you introduced yourself to me, you said, "Call me Gopher."
Yeah.
Where did that nickname come from?
Well, I don't know which one of my siblings or whatever, but our family had nicknames all the way down the line pretty much. Most of our siblings had some kind of, and they were pretty weird nicknames. And I don't know, they said I played in the dirt as a kid, but I thought, oh, well, that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
But so they just came up with a nickname and it stuck through school.
That makes sense.
And it stuck through me at the age I am at 63. It's still there.
Yeah. You talk to my military buddies and they still call me by my nickname.
Okay.
Kit. Mm-hmm. Not super original, but still a nickname.
I've never heard him call you. I mean, I haven't met too many of your military buddies, but Kit. I have been called Kit Kat.
Okay.
And kettle corn because of Kittelson.
Yeah.
Kettle corn.
That's interesting. Little kids who like to make things up. I also, when I was reading some of your story and doing some research, Gopher, that it said that because you drove a backhoe.
Yeah.
For your career for quite some time. So you're literally digging in the dirt.
It was just unbelievable how that fit in. I was farming, of course, and doing that. But after I bought into the company and stuff, that's all in the summertime, that's all I did. Dirt work from septics to water line. To, no matter what it was, I was getting dirty and in the dirt.
In the dirt.
Yep.
Well, I think it's a great nickname. So let's go to November 8th of 2021. Because speaking of working, you were on your way to work when your accident happened. And I remember all of a sudden hearing just the chatter. The chatter started coming that someone had been hit by a train. And so to hear this side of the story is going to be so beautiful coming directly from you. So just walk us through exactly what was happening that day, Ladell.
Well, for me, it was pretty much a normal day. One thing I will say that day was after daylight savings time. So that Monday, the sun or the day was different because obviously you're an hour change.
Yeah.
So I did find out this later, and I don't know if it's a true statistic, but they say most accidents kind of happen, not most, but there's more accidents percentage-wise on that day compared to just because of that hour chime change. So I'm thinking I'm going to pull. Let's quit doing that.
Yeah, it's out of sorts.
Yep,
you're out of sorts a little bit.
But I guess I will say it was a beautiful day, and I guess I'll say that more than once. Probably it was a beautiful sunny day morning.
Okay.
So we actually, because of where we were going for the job, me and my coworker, we went to take our backhoe to the job, which was just right out of town, 3 miles.
Yeah.
Know it very well because he has a job that we needed to look over that job first of all, and then we need to get extra equipment out because I needed a boring machine to do what we're doing. We're boring a water line to a cattle fountain. So we took the backhoe out, and we both came back into town after we met with the owner, and so we just did a few things at the shop, and then got in the other truck to go back out to actually do the job.
Okay.
And this was actually, it was right at 8:00. 2
separate vehicles. So were you following the vehicle?
So actually, I got in through the big boring truck to take it out, and sometimes my coworker would actually drive that truck because I always drove the backhoe truck. But for some reason, I got into the boring truck, and he got into his pickup because what we needed was we needed the water line behind the pickup with a roller. And so he got into the pickup and followed me to the job site.
Okay.
And so that's where when we left town, it was just got had to cross the road track. I guess I could say we don't have to cross it. I could go a different direction on Highway 9 and go so you go over the viaduct. But it's either way, and I just, for some reason, I took that way, which is, not abnormal. But so we just was heading out. I don't know what happened as far as why I did not see this train. It was coming in from the south, comes in at a little angle on this track. But I will say the sun was so bright. Everybody's told me this, and I do remember that. But when I get to heaven someday, I would like to ask Jesus, what was I thinking, or why I didn't see the train? That is the only
replay.
That is the only question I have of why this accident happened. I mean, I know God put it there for a reason, because I did hit the second locomotive, which is right in the front of the train. Obviously, I hit the second locomotive.
So it had already crossed.
So, we were just we were a beeline to hitting each other from people that were close to the site. They heard the horn, and they said, I've never heard a train horn blow so loud and so long. And that is another thing that I just, there's 2 things I'll tell you right off the bat that I hopefully don't forget. For me, it was an accident, but the people involved in this accident, what they saw and how things happened, including my coworker that followed me, that was right behind the truck, that saw the whole thing. And then there was 2 ladies walking on the other side of the track that actually, they were the ones that called 911 right away. They didn't see it because they were on the other side of the train, but they were within feet of it happening. It was maybe hundreds of feet, but it was very close. They were right there. And then I'll say my community, as far as we have volunteers for our EMTs and our fire department. And I think of them often because
of what they had to see.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't good.
No.
I mean, it was not good. And then, but
is this a country road?
It is a blacktop that actually the only reason it's kind of a blacktop, all cemeteries have to have a blacktop. So the church cemetery of the Apostolic Church is on the other side of the tracks.
Okay.
So they blacktopped it.
Oh, I see.
But
otherwise, it's not in town.
it's not. No, it's
Nothing around.
It's not a gravel road, but it is black. But all it has is crossings.
Yeah.
It does not have any arms
Okay.
or lights on it.
Okay.
But so I don't forget, I guess there's going to be a blessing in this thing. Yeah. Guess what? The farmer in that area had been trying to get lights and crossings because they use that so often that they've been talking to the Burlington for years and years. I shouldn't have probably said
that's okay.
Train.
It's a train. It's okay.
And but they actually just got lights and
they did.
And arms on that crossing right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully
that's an expensive thing to get get that equipment in there. And we're just now looking at the pictures for the first time of the accident.
Just wanted to give you a little taste of what it looked like.
So the truck you were driving looks like a dump truck.
Yep.
Okay. And so it's got the big cab on the front, and it looks like the driver's side is the one that really made the impact, where the passenger side is relatively unscathed.
Right. So that's kind of how the accident worked. I don't maybe want to say this, but I will. I did not have my seatbelt on, but I feel God somehow. I do wear it now in my truck, but these short runs, I don't know why you do that, but different. If it was a longer where you go, I put them on sometimes, but if it just these short places, it was only 3 miles, I don't put them on all the time. But for some reason, God, I did not see the train at all. I visually cannot see the train, which is, I think, is it's a blessing.
Because like you close your eyes, you can't remember.
I don't have nightmares. I don't have nothing. I don't have a visual. Sounds? Nothing.
So the train didn't hit you. You hit the train.
Right.
And didn't it drag you?
No, the train, I feel the truck was so heavy. I had a huge water tank in there for the water for the boring machine, and that was full.
Okay.
And stuff like that. And I was heavy.
So it stopped.
I stayed right there. But what happened, I turned into the train, which is just crazy. So I think I did see the train. For some reason, I actually turned. You would think you would turn away from the train. I turned south, which was in the train. And that is why my cab
is
to the left.
Where I was sitting, hit the train. That had the brunt of the thing where it got pushed back so much.
Yeah.
But for the grace of God, I flew to the passenger side.
Amazing.
But
top half.
My top. But I feel that, and that's why, I guess we can get into that. I did what I lost. But I think the reason I didn't fly into the train, as far as through the windshield and all that stuff, because my legs got pinned instantly through the boards. It got crushed so fast that I just stayed there, but I flew to the right side or to the passenger side, and that's where I stayed.
For those listening, I just want to describe these pictures because they really are something. We've got the truck, which looks like a dump truck, and the driver's side is pushed into a stopped train. So the train is stopped before it passed all the way through. I can see the passenger side tire, but there's no driver's side tire. And then another picture, we can see internals of the engine.
Yeah, the camshaft was totally blown. The engine got blown just totally apart.
And then I'm looking at the passenger side, and there's no room in the passenger side for anyone. And then here's a picture of the just from the rear, where I can see the bed of the dump truck, and forward of that is nothing.
Yeah. If I would have stayed there, that's where I felt. That's why God saved me totally.
Hence, if you would have had your seatbelt on, you may not be here today.
Right.
So, Ladell, you did lose your left leg. They had to amputate your leg.
Yep.
You broke your left, was it your left arm and elbow?
Yep.
It was crushed.
Yep.
And also your right leg was severely damaged. I mean, both your legs were completely pinned.
Correct.
So were you, I mean, like, did it knock you out or were you awake for that?
I was told I was unconscious when the first EMT came. He was a farmer right there that got there within, and they're the God of having a small community and different volunteers.
Yep.
His farm was only a half mile there, and he heard the accident and got the pager. He did not even go back to the get anything. He came directly to the site.
Yeah. We got a phone.
Yes, we got a phone. We forgot that one thing. It's okay.
It's just fine.
But you had your coworker also is behind you.
He is behind me.
And he sees it.
He totally sees it. I will say this one thing I heard, he told me in accounts of, he did not see any brake lights in my truck.
So you were just heading over.
I did not brake or anything. So I don't know how fast I was going, but, he was right there. And these two ladies that were on the other side of the track were right there.
Yep. So you fast forward and all of a sudden you have everybody there trying to get you out because you could bleed to death with the exposure because you had bone exposure and just all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shelly, you get the call.
Yep.
Can you please share with your sweet, tender heart what you were going through?
First of all, my son called me a little after 8 and said, "Mom, I can't get a hold of Dad, and there's a train accident." And I'm like, okay, I'll get out the plot book and see where such and such a address is at. And so I got off the phone with him, and then the phone rang. I'll take that back. I got off the phone with him, and then I tried to call Ladell. And then I got the call, and I knew. I knew right away that I just had this feeling that it was him. But so then, his brother came and picked me up and went out there. And I just remember getting out of the car and running, and the cops stopped me, and they wouldn't let me go up there. So I kind of waited there for an hour.
Oh no!
Because it took, I think it was like 53 minutes it took to get him out of the car.
I guess I didn't even get to that as far as I was unconscious. The first EMT, he got me awake within right away.
Yeah.
I remember talking to him for an hour, screaming. I guess I remember my first words was to say that, tell my kids and family I love them, because I don't even know if I knew what hit me or what I hit.
Yeah.
I really don't know if that was even in my visual of knowing that, but I knew it was bad. And I remember saying to him to just say, and he said, "You're going to tell him yourself."
Oh yeah.
And he kept yelling at me for an hour because I kept saying, I just want to go home. I just want to leave. I was hurting.
Yeah, the pain.
The pain was unbelievable, and so that went on and then talking to our friends that are on the EMT and on the fire department afterwards. That is one thing they regret. It took, like I said, an hour for them to get me pulled back because I was so crunched up against the train. Oh, it took 34 cars for that train to stop. Mm-hmm. I hit the second locomotive, but I was actually on the 34th car. That's how long it takes for trains to stop.
He hit 32.
So as the cars went by, they say there's a chance my elbow probably hit every car, the ladders of them cars and stuff. Yeah. So actually sitting there, I guess you can see that the EMT worked on me. He was on the platform of that corner of that car. But he just, he stayed with me the whole time, and the fire department, and I can remember hearing them screaming to each other of what they're trying to do. They had a wrecker there. They had tractors there. They couldn't pull the train back, I guess, once they found this out, because the frame of the truck, it's like a penny on a track. the frame was across the track, and the train kept going over top this frame. And what it did is curled it around how the track is. It curled it around there, and they couldn't.
That's why they couldn't pull the truck back.
Yeah. Right. All they would have to
scene.
do early is pull this truck, and they couldn't figure it. Well, I mean, I think they figured it out, but they had to get the right equipment to cut that frame so they could get this thing back. So they just said they seemed like it took too long because the helicopter came and it had to shut down. I mean, because they said usually you can get a person out usually by the time the helicopter's there. But it took a while.
Had the conductor, had he come back?
I do not know that.
Have you ever met him?
No. I would love to talk to stuff like that. I don't know. Because there again, that is one thing that I think of between my coworker and my wife and everybody that did everything for me, the trauma they had to go through, because the stuff I went through, I mean, actually, there was no. I mean, once I got onto the out of the truck, I don't remember. I think really for days and days and days, because they drugged me up so bad that
I wouldn't be surprised if this podcast makes it to that.
To the conductor.
It's pretty amazing.
Because I just can visually see him looking and knowing, and
how do you stop?
And I'm sure, if you drive a train, a conductor probably sees it more than once in his lifetime, because it's amazing now when you talk to people. Oh, I know somebody that either it was a near miss or it was where they got hit, but either most of the time got flowing and lucky or whatever.
Yeah. We know someone in the family who was on there riding a lawnmower and got hit. Wow. And before something happened to me, I remember going, how in the world? How do you not hear the train? Because their horns are so loud. We have tracks in our small town, and they go by like
it vibrates our house.
It's
and
loud,
you can hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Until one day, I dropped our kids off at a daycare and taking a gravel road across a train track on the way to work, and I had to make an emergency stop as a train was coming kind of diagonal to this gravel road, because I didn't see it. I didn't hear it because the gravel road itself was loud enough to blind out to like I couldn't hear the train.
And it also is to the east, and so the sun.
Yeah.
And where he was coming across, it's like when you look back around that corner. So everything you're explaining, I'm actually sitting where he's talking about in my head. Like
I was just in my head going along, look to the left. Oh, train. Let's hit the brakes.
Yeah.
And when you're early in the morning, you're still in your head. The sun's in your eyes.
Thinking about the
truck is loud.
Well, that's possibly too. A lot of times you think about where you're going to park the truck. What are you going to do when you get there?
Yeah.
And it's possible. I could, I just didn't look twice. I maybe looked once, or but
you could have even just been looking down at something.
Yeah.
Shelly went after, so they get him out after an hour, and there's people everywhere, right? Like it's like just a whirlwind spinning around you with people, and your phone's probably blowing up, and kids are wanting to know how dad is, and friends. And because you're from a small town, this is like one big, huge family.
Oh yeah. That is another thing. The community.
For me, I would say the hardest thing, because I don't remember, but my son says too. I said, well, did I call you? He's like, yeah, Mom.
Yeah.
He said,
shock.
He said, I always know when I get a call from you guys in the morning that something isn't good, and so, but I don't even remember that. But yeah, there was a lot of people around. And one thing, when I did get there, a couple of the EMTs that could not stay up there because they were too close to him.
My coworker's secretary, or the owner's, she's my secretary at Luthel. Yeah. She's on the EMT.
Yeah. So they always say when they know they can't be there, they back off. And both of them did come and tell me he's stable, So that helped a lot. But I just remember I wanted to see him when they put him on the helicopter, but they wouldn't let me because it was too bad that I thought they made a line actually for respect. So all the fire department EMTs made a line in front of the helicopter. But later they told me they did that so I wouldn't see because it was so bad.
Do you appreciate that?
I think I do.
Yeah. I mean, we know that their heart was in the right place.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the moment, decisions are so hard.
Yeah. And one of the EMTs did tell me, he said, Shelly, I knew if he wasn't going to make it, I would have let you come up and see him.
Okay, cool.
So that, that helped a lot. But yeah, I wanted to see him. I wanted to know what was going on. But I did get to see him right before they did take him back to surgery. Yeah, and he was in a lot of pain. So then I didn't see him. We probably didn't see him till real late that night after that. So we didn't see him.
So flown to Sioux Falls?
Yep, he was flown to Sioux Falls.
Okay. Avera, Sanford?
He was at Sanford. Oops.
It's okay. It's all right.
I asked the question.
It's okay.
Yeah, he was at Sanford. One thing I can tell you, he lost 10 inches of his artery.
That was literally ripped off?
That was literally
the
just
main
gone.
artery was gone.
Was gone. And
Ladell,
so,
it is.
How did not bleed to death?
It's a
I lost a lot of blood, I guess, but
yeah.
But he was there so quick. I think they got them tourniquets on, like
got them on
as fast as you could have an accident and get somebody to that site that knows something that had the know-how to get down there to do that.
Did volunteers carry around tourniquets?
I don't know. I don't know. They maybe had a way
in their kit. I don't know.
I guess I don't know that.
Ladell, you get to you guys, I mean, like just the process of like the timeline of it all, and you get to Sioux Falls and they realize that this is something that we, like the reconstructive, that we can't, like we got to fly you somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But did you wake up, were you out until you got to the specialty hospital in Nebraska, or how?
No, I remember the hospital a little bit. The only reason I kind of remember people coming, the family, got to remember this is COVID too. It was
during COVID.
So I guess we can say that only, I don't know about up the hospital.
Yeah, it was only two of us that could go in.
Only go in at a time. But I was there for 2.5 days because they were trying to find, I was being worked on to get cleaned out because that's another thing. I never had any infections of my legs one bit or anything. I mean, this truck is a dirty truck. Yeah. The site was dirty. The water blew up. I mean, the grout that we were carrying was all over. They had foam all over. Anyway, to make a long story short, I did not get an infection, but they did such a great job of obviously keeping my wounds clean. But that's all they did for 2.5 days, I think. Well, obviously they took my left leg off right away, right?
Did they? They amputated?
No.
Almost.
So the first day they went in and cleaned up and had to see what was going on. And then they came back to me and said they needed to take him up to do an angiogram to see if the other artery in the right leg was going to be the blood was going to be flowing good enough to save that leg. So that we didn't really know. Okay. I mean, we thought maybe he could lose both, but there was one artery that was still good. So then they kind of more or less just wrapped his, put a brace on his arm with pins and stuff. And then the day before we left to go to Omaha, they did amputate his leg. They did that below the knee first because, like they say, it's always better to be below the knee than above.
It's you can keep the knee as an amputee it's just so much
healing.
Well,
it's
you
just
can walk.
Easier
it's
too.
easier to get back to normal because you have the knee to work with, and it's not as taxing. I guess they say your energy usage of walking without that knee, just how you got to walk, is so much harder.
They were able to save your knee?
No.
Well, they were able to. At first they did. They amputated it below.
Okay.
And then, then they flew him down.
Okay, that's another story. As far as they tried really hard to get me somewhere, nobody would almost take me. But our doctor here in Sioux Falls, he kept getting, I think, upset.
Yeah, no,
that I wasn't.
He doesn't remember a lot of things.
Yeah, go ahead, Shelly.
But actually, his doctor in Sioux Falls, the trauma surgeon, actually did residency in Omaha with this doctor that did his surgeries in Omaha, the PA, he worked with her PA before. So then he had called down there and they got him in. They tried Mayo. They tried,
All of a sudden my son came in and said, we're going to Omaha because he was getting upset and everybody was.
Because time was of essence.
All I was doing is laying there with a lot of drugs. But like I said, I remember stuff because I remember The Simpsons, and because I was getting illusions of how much drugs they put in me. I was just going nuts as far as things were just flying in my head and whatever. And I do remember that. But I remember my son Bo coming in and said, "We're leaving."
Going. We're going.
And they got us to the airport within short time and then flew me down there.
3 surgeons were on you.
Pretty
right?
much.
3 reconstructive surgeons.
Yeah, I had 3 surgeons in Omaha. And that was the biggest blessing. How God worked that way to get me in the right spot. Because I will talk how every one of them were just so great. So great.
Yeah.
I mean, my recovery, I never had no trouble. I mean, the only trouble I had was in my elbow, I guess. They had to go in there after they took the sling and the thing off. I was actually at Madonna then, and they saw all my pins. I have like 16 screws in this elbow. And but they said, how are we going to move this? But they tried to keep moving it, and it wouldn't move much.
Calcium deposit.
And what happened, I was healing so fast that I think I just seized up in there. So he actually had to go into that elbow and scrape out this calcium and all that stuff again, later down the road. And actually that was the hardest surgery I had to recover.
Was your arm?
Yeah, my arm, because he went back in there and it hurt. And then when I did the rehab here in Sioux Falls at Avera, I did all my physical therapist up here. And, but that was a tough therapy, just to start moving that elbow.
So did they build you a new knee?
So,
okay,
I'll finish. When we got to Omaha, they assessed him we got down there on Thursday night, and on Friday they started just assessing the whole situation. And then some of the skin started dying below the knees. So they had to go above the knee because they didn't have enough.
Yeah.
Because you have to have skin wrapped around. So when you have a prosthesis on, it's got to be good enough where it doesn't get sores and whatever. So if you don't have the skin that's living, obviously it's got to live, but it's just got to be a good stump.
Yep.
And so that's when they took that above the knee, which was bad, but it was obviously something they had to do.
Yeah. So mid-thigh? Or
it's just right above the knee.
Right above. Okay.
And there I'm blessed because I have a great stump. It's long, or it's long enough and stuff, because some people, they actually have to take it up higher, so you don't have a whole lot of area there to put that prosthesis around to hold it. And then you just run into different situations, different things it just doesn't work as well and stuff. So,
and then they saved your right leg, which was an incredible miracle.
So on his right leg, from below the knee, everything was below the knee except his elbow. He had like 3 inches of skin left on that leg, of just normal skin.
The rest was all gone.
Everything else was gone.
I was told it looked like a meat grinder's ground everything up into that.
So they were we're very fortunate that they could save that. But he had multiple surgeries. They did a trans flap where they took, they call the swimmer's muscle or whatever there, and they reconstructed his leg with that.
The back muscle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And I think that was probably one of the longest surgeries he had, was 12 hours, because they had to do all the, the vessels and everything. And we didn't know if that was going to take. That was one thing his doctor said, this might not take, but it did.
It did.
Lots and lots of prayers. I remember. Wow.
Yeah.
He's
there it is.
Gopher is showing us his right leg of all the graphing
leg,
and
it's there.
It's there.
And I walk with it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I'm so impressed at how well you can share this story without like Gopher, because it's just, you're in so much shock, like that shock, how I think of how God has so divinely knitted every single one of us, and how when stuff like that happens, our bodies are so beautiful, like how he has created our bodies to do certain things, like how you can, and surgeons, how they have learned to do the things
Yes,
they can do.
how God has gifted them.
Yes. It is so divine in the prayers. I mean, the chain of prayers that happened. And so God's intervention in all of it. I mean, he was so present. Was there a moment within all of this that you just go, oh man, he was right there?
I do. Yeah. All the time. All the time. When obviously we had to go somewhere from the hospital to where my rehab was, and they took us to, I'm going to say Madonna, and I'm going to put a plug in. It was just the greatest thing ever, because there for a while they were thinking, oh, where's he going to be able to go? Like even they mentioned a nursing home. And I said, no, I don't want to do that and whatever. But every step of the way, it just seemed like God had a plan of the best place where I could go for mental and physical help. Yeah. So once I got there, and I will say that another miracle that I'll just say it's amazing. I had workman's comp insurance.
Yeah.
And I don't know if if I can tell this story, but I will. Well, I wasn't supposed to have it. And it was a miracle.
Well, there's
I can.
There's a lot of times that you want to know why. You're like, why? And God is ahead of it all of it. It doesn't matter what the scenario, what the story, what the age, whatever it is. I always will say, no matter, because people live in a lot of fear. They live in a lot of fear. And I always say, it doesn't matter. Like the fear, to allow God to take that from you, because he's ahead of whatever is to come. And no matter the tragedy, no matter the accident, no matter what the scenario is, to trust that he is ahead of it. Like our business with COVID. I mean, just all of it. You're like, God, I don't understand. And he's like, you don't really have to. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I got you. So that's there. Yeah. Cause that's not a small financial thing that any type of
that was a blessing,
surgery.
Totally a blessing.
Yeah.
That things worked out that way also.
Shelly, what was a moment for you? Do you have a specific moment at all that you keep going back to where God was right there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was there the whole time.
Through all of it.
Yeah. I just remember I was always thought, and I don't know if I necessarily was brought up that way, that you never get angry with God.
Yeah, you don't.
But there was one night that I did, because I spent multiple nights in the motel room right next to the hospital in Madonna. And you have kids at home that are going to school, and you're trying to be a mom and a wife. And I just remember I was so mad and I just screamed. And I think that for me was one of the best things I did.
Mm-hmm. He can take it.
Yeah.
It's okay to get angry.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, just
there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of, even when I come home with my wheelchair and to get back actually living with my wife, or it was whatever.
Yeah, he was not at home for 3 months, short of 3 months.
I mean, it doesn't seem that long in a way, but, but in a way it was a long time. And just to get reconnected with the injuries and her to actually have to see my leg when you don't have it on and stuff as much. I mean, obviously in the hospital it did, but you're in the hospital bed and
it's different.
Whatever.
Yep.
But it's amazing how there again to the stigma of, when people, they can think about the leg not being there, but actually they really can't until you actually take this leg off and actually somebody sees that, when I have shorts on and stuff, you can see that.
Yeah.
And it's, that's another thing I went through the process of people looking at you and stuff and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but in a way it is, but
it's all a whole new experience.
It
all
is.
of it. Yeah.
It is, but like I said, you think about them things, but then I go, I'm here, Lord.
Yeah.
And thank you for at least giving me some extra time because wouldn't see my youngest grandchild and, you know, just stuff that you're going to miss. And obviously the world's not perfect yet. So some days when we're fighting to whatever, I'm thinking, why am I even here, Lord?
Wait.
Why didn't you take me, Lord? You know, when you have, you know, there's days, you know, obviously nothing's, he gives you trials and so we'll just move on. And I always said that one day at a time type deal, Lord.
It has to be.
Just get me the next one day, get me through this next day.
Do you still have any pain?
No
pain.
Not so much. I take a little bit of drugs for fathom pain is a big thing with when you have an amputee.
Yeah.
You can have this fathom pain. That's where that one thing with the doctor that had that report on me that he actually
that's a miracle too.
Most doctors don't do that. That it's a trans or what do you call it?
Targeted muscle reinnervation.
Right.
Yeah.
I got the right doctor that does that.
He was there that night, and he actually was just the plastic surgeon type thing. He just went in and he just said to me, "Can I do this?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "Sure."
That's so great.
You know, because he really wasn't supposed to have much. So he did that the time that they did the trans flap. And yeah, it was just like every single doctor that should have been there was there.
It makes such a huge difference for your future.
Right.
And what kind of circumstances you're going to be walking into with you're now an amputee, you're even just the scars and all the internal connection that they had to refuse and rewire and because it was all ripped.
Yeah.
So
I got iron
the delicacy.
in my leg. I mean, you know, the stuff you go through the airport and they definitely can see a
You're
lot.
bionic? Is that the right word, honey? He's bionic.
Yeah.
He's a superhero.
For pretty much. Oh, it's really beautiful to be able to hear it from both of you just directly right now. Because I was on my knees. I was praying. I was like, I don't even know this guy.
And
I just know Shelly.
I heard the prayers. I mean, I guess I never felt prayers so much down, you know, once I started obviously getting off the drugs probably.
Yeah.
But, you know, for, you know, people that either called or came down, obviously with COVID, it was not as much as, you know, probably would have been. But the prayers, it didn't matter. I could feel them. I mean,
something.
I started listening to, I used to, K-Love or KMWC. I used to listen to Christian music some, but then I never ever really listened to the words so much so when I was down there listening, I actually paid attention to the worship music, and actually it's amazing how you can have pretty much getting preached to through song. Yeah. And I started doing that down there because, like I say, before I would just kind of, you know, she would have it on the radio and I would know the tunes, but I wouldn't really listen to the words. Mm-hmm. And so I started to learn how to do that. But it was just amazing how the prayers and our community, when I came home with game plan for Hope van, and that was another miracle that I wasn't supposed to even. They tried to get me home in another van, whatever, and it fell through. And I called Jeff up and I said, "Jeff, you got a van for me?" "Oh, sure."
Yeah.
I said, "You're on standby." And that morning or the day before that fell through, and he said, "Nope." So my son and her.
What color was the van?
Gray.
Nice.
Jeff is one of the executive directors and one of the mechanics at Game Plan for Hope.
Yeah.
We've mentioned in the past helps individuals with disabilities or physical needs.
Life-changing
event.
Yeah, exactly.
And so he came through and because I said, I am not staying down here. I was having a good experience, but I had that day. But when we did come home, and I don't know how they pulled it off, but I will remember this too, because that's where the community comes through. They pretty much gave me a homecoming parade. I come through Blaster. I don't.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yep. That's fine.
And that small town, I mean, they were lined up through the whole main street and on the other street, and my coworkers had the back go out with a sign that said, "Welcome home, Gopher." I cried.
Yeah.
I cried.
Yeah.
And it was just, I mean, the blessing of a small community, knowing the people that had prayed for you and that care, that you can't even imagine. I can't imagine not being in a small community like that. I mean, if you're in a, whatever, I'm sure every area is different, but this one was just unbelievable.
Yeah. We're going to ask something. We're running out of, you were good?
Yeah, I'm good. This has been just a wonderful story and an inspiration to me. And I was thinking earlier how this could have turned you against the faith. Why me? What the heck? There can't be a God that would let this happen to me, but it strengthened your faith. It's had just the opposite effect. So thank you for that testimony.
It did.
Well, and for one thing, I mean, for us, it helped us as a family so much that he never was angry.
Yeah.
That he didn't, it was always positive from day one.
Yeah.
He never got mad, never. So that helped us through it too. I think that really helped us as a family.
To me, it is proof that there is a God,
Amen.
a God who can use these situations. I personally don't believe that, like my brother who passed away from cancer, I don't think God gave cancer to my little brother. I believe Nate got cancer and it was hard, and God used that situation for his glory.
Yep.
A lot of people have come to Christ, now have a better life because of Nate, because of what happened. Same thing in your situation. And only a God who cares, who's physically involved in this earth, can do that. And I think that's just proof
supernatural.
positive
Complete.
that he does things just on its own accord. That probably wouldn't happen.
Yep, exactly.
So,
No, I just can't say it enough. I feel still blessed that that God saved me, and we can work through this, and
you get to continue to be the patriarch of your family.
If there is anybody out there, I don't like to I'm not the type of person to go out and go speak and whatever, but if people ask me, I told God, that was in Madonna, I says, no matter
Speak
what.
Jesus was his favorite song.
If they want me to talk or whatever, I won't talk very well, but I will give you my story because it's God's story.
It is God's story.
And so I will do the best I can, but
Gopher, you talk just fine.
Yes, it's great. There's no right or wrong when you're sharing your own story, which is what God has given you as your testimony. So thank you for sharing it with us.
So either get a hold of us, or I don't know if we'll put the contact information in the show notes, but if you're available to come tell your story, is that what you're saying?
To anybody, I am not shy of trying.
Yep.
That's all I can do. Like I said, one time I was telling some kids and whatever, and I said, do you want me to take my leg off? Everybody goes, no. There was like 2 or 3 of them that said,
Yes.
So I did.
Yeah.
You want to see some eyes opening? Yeah, I did.
But
I think it's amazing.
it's a good way to show them, like our neighbor
Don't be
kids
scared
too.
of it.
Yeah, that was the best
there
thing.
Again, too, it is just something. And it's amazing the people you see in the stores and whatever, when you don't have, just like buying a car that's your color or whatever, and all of a sudden everybody's got that color.
Yeah.
Well, now, you notice things.
You notice amputees?
Yep.
And you go, and then you'll actually say hi, or make sure you say hi, and they'll see and whatever. And
Share
it's
share your
neat,
story. It's a community, a new community.
It is. We follow Amputee Coalition and stuff. I'm not good at. I don't do it at all as far as replying, but I love reading it, and it's amazing how many people. And most of the time, they're having trouble. Something's going on. They're mentally or physically, it's not working out, and whatever. And there again, too, you got to have the right prosthesis guy.
Yep.
And I went to Sioux City for that. Perfect.
Yeah.
I had the right one there too.
Yeah, the beauty that comes from the ashes, just like the song, right?
Yeah.
We speak about that all the time, about you are introduced into a whole new world and a new community you didn't even know existed once stuff like this happens. And so thank you for sharing your story, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
From both sides. It's been a really...
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you for
It's been beautiful.
I never knew about you until a little while ago. So,
well, hi, Ladell.
And welcome to the world of podcasts. You're welcome, and I'm sorry.
there you go.
And this is just the beginning, my friend.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe for you guys. You get doing very well.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening. We want to change lives through this podcast. And if you want to support this podcast or our guests, please see the links below for our Patreon and giving links.
And like and subscribe, and also share our podcast as much as possible. Thank you.